Welcome back to another episode. Today's topic is a big one. Turning point. Turning points. We've all had turning points in our lives, sometimes feeling good, sometimes feeling bad, but we've always had to create some type of response in order to deal with them. And today's topic is no different. So, with turning point, what is a turning point exactly? Well, a turning point essentially marks a change, usually a significant change. We can all have little turning points in our lives, but what I want to focus on today are the big turning points, because the big turning points really stretch us and challenge us to figure out what are we going to do next. So with that, wanted to talk a little bit about one of the mentors that I have, Marshall Silver. He actually has a pretty cool program I haven't had the opportunity to take as of yet. That's been on my bucket list. Whew, probably a couple years now. It might have been 2 or 3 years. But the whole idea of the Turning Point program is he is actually a hypnotist. And he actually uses the power and his ability and his skills to actually remove the barriers you have from your mind so that you're more easily focused on what it is you actually have to do. And there's really nothing you stopping you from doing it. And the big thing with that is we all have the power to do that in ourselves, but we have so many barriers that are up. There's just so much difficulty sometimes in recognizing what we can actually do and actually doing it. But imagine all those reservations kind of being taken away. So I wanted to give him a shout because even from some of the programs and some of the materials that I got from him, I received the understanding, I received the belief that I'm a lot stronger than I once thought I was. And the only thing stopping me from doing anything is me. So I wanted to, again, share that message a little bit with you. Feel free to take a look at some of his material, some of his content. Really good stuff. But moving on from there. So when you have a change in circumstance, you have a change in your mindset. And that one is typical of anything. When you go through something, especially a critical turning point, something that represents a significant change, your mindset fundamentally changes with it. And it's really a question of how does your mindset change? How are you thinking differently? And so there's kind of two ways you can go with that. Remember, your mindset is really your perspective or how you actually see the world and what decisions you essentially make within it. And so when you do have that big change in circumstance, do you look at whatever that change is as an opportunity, or do you look at it as a problem? And every day we're going to be presented with that very choice. Whatever just happened to me, does that create a serious problem, or is that a huge opportunity? And really, it's how we look and how we take that information in and how we make a decision that really is going to impact how we move forward, what our mindset's going to look like, all of that. So you're very well aware, just like I am, that we hit a critical turning point, significant circumstance change when we transition into what I call the coronavirus, or the coronavirus pandemic and the lockdown that resulted as a result of that. And we've hit certain things that will fundamentally change forever. So four key categories I know a lot of folks feel as though maybe that they're having challenges with are the whole idea of their sources of income and their job or their work, education, and essentially how are you going to be getting educated when things are kind of on lockdown and how you facilitate that environment, finance, and travel. These are four key areas that the lockdown has impacted significantly. And it's really a question of how do you actually view the impact of the coronavirus on those various topics, right? So if you lost your job, probably the biggest thing that you're thinking of is, man, my source of income disappeared. How can I supplement that? Well, the government has stepped in. They've provided some resources to assist with that, but depending on where you are in your situation, that could help out a lot, and that may not be nearly enough. All right. In regards to education, you might look at it as, oh, whew, man, now I had to be the teacher for my kids, considering they're not going to school anymore, or maybe the resources are not up to par there. Well, again, that could be another challenge that a lot of parents are dealing with as far as how do I make sure that my kids are actually getting educated with this changing and new environment. I don't know what to do. And in regards to finance, well, if money's really tight, like what choices do you have? And what resource can you reach out to that can give you some insight into what next steps that you can actually take, or do things kind of seem kind of hopeless. And then travel, it's like, well, I can't go anywhere now. I feel like I'm restricted. What's the deal with being in a free country in a free world if I can't go anywhere, right? So you can look at each one of those topics and those items and see nothing but problems and nothing but challenges. But on the reverse side, on the other side, you might see huge opportunity, and that's my mindset. That's where I'm coming from. There is so much change that is happening so fast that we have so many opportunities to make a change in this world, to bring out our gifts and to have those flourish. I'm a big fan of Winning with Prestige. It's one of the brands that I support, that I have for my businesses. And there's a really cool word. It's called eudaimonia, and that's essentially one of our core beliefs, that humans need to flourish. And so taking that flip side and looking at those same four categories, when I think of job and work, I think of all of the cool things that are going to result from that. Here, in the U.S., work was something where folks just put time in and time in and time in, and they're putting in so much time that they didn't have very much time to themselves, whether it's time at work, time in dealing with the commute, any of that stuff, right? It can be a huge, huge drain, but you got time back. That's the biggest thing that happened with this lockdown. You got time back. So it's really a question of, if you had more time today, which so many people wish they had, what would you actually do with it? So when you get back more time with the way this environment's actually changing, that can be a huge opportunity. What would you do with more time? Now you have to deal with that question. And if you can come up with some viable alternatives, you can create huge success for yourself. You just had to put that question in your mind and see what actually comes out. In regards to education, we are going to hit one of the biggest fundamental changes in how we educate ourselves and how the next generation and our kids are actually getting educated. And that's a huge one, because we've been in an environment where school was modeled after the industrial system, and it's broken. It's been broken for a while, and a lot of folks did not recognize that. But now that decision is going to be in your hands. It's going to be in the parents' hands. And the big thing with that is you have so many barriers that have all of a sudden dropped. Now, it may not have happened overnight, but these barriers will drop, because the problem or the challenge before, I guess, how parents may have looked at solving this challenge was, if I get into a good school system, if I move to a good school system, then the school system will educate my child. And that's changed. That has changed. And with the barriers going down, this whole idea that parents aren't located in the right place anymore to get the education their kids needs, that's completely going to change. And that's huge, because there's not going to be a barrier anymore from you getting the information you need in order to be successful. And you can't use it as an excuse either, right? So huge opportunity there. And I'm looking to be on the forefront of that and putting out content that is consumable and hearing the questions and the feedback so I can actually keep hitting topics that folks are actually interested in. Finance is a huge one. Finance is a huge one. We were not educated, as a society, we're not educated very well in school in regards to finance. Unfortunately, it's one of those life lessons where if you find the right resources and you look in the right places, you figure it out. And if not, you feel like the system's against you. But again, it's a system, right? So if you remember, if we know how systems work, we can make them work to our advantage. If we have ignorance for how the system works, it's always going to feel like it's working against us. But you're going to see one of the biggest transfers of wealth in human history. That's right, in human history, that has ever happened as a result of how lives within the world is just fundamentally going to change and turn around. So huge opportunity there. Transfer of wealth. And last but not least, travel. So, travel is a big one, right? That's been the one industry that's been hurt the hardest and hit the hardest by this lockdown, by this pandemic. And it's going to continue to happen. And so the big thing that I see as far as the opportunity there is, don't look at how travel happened before, look how travel will happen in the future going forward. And we used to be in a world where if you wanted to go anywhere, it was like, okay, transportation was going to take you to the world, wherever you wanted to go. It was going to try to do it fast, it was trying to do it efficient, and it was a cash cow. But now the tides have changed, and all of a sudden, it's all about bringing the world to you. So you're going to see a huge investment and a huge opportunity in all of the work and the technology and everything that goes into bringing the world to you. So no matter if you're stuck at home or within your own local community, you can still see what's going on. You can still interact with what's going on. And so that's going to be fundamentally change things. It's going to be huge. So going forward with that, there's certain things that have to change within yourself in order for you to view those things as opportunities as opposed to problems or challenges. The first is your daily routine. You have to do something small. Doesn't have to be big, something small, but you're going to start doing it on a regular basis that's going to allow things to be opportunities for you. In regards to your mindset and your perspective, your foundation, you're going to have to rebuild your foundation. There might be certain things that didn't work very well in it before, and that's going to have to fundamentally change up. Your belief system. Again, your beliefs may be strong, your beliefs may be flexible, but whatever they are, they need to give you a firm foundation as far as how you move forward. And there's nothing wrong with changing a belief. My beliefs have definitely changed over time, but you want to be convicted and strong with what those actually are. And then adaptation, you need to be able to change. If you're not willing to change, you're going to have a very, very difficult time with everything that's going on. Very hard. So wanted to share my story. So if you haven't heard it already, my critical turning point happened on July 26, 2016, where I was laid off for the 6th time in my career. And this was after 12 years after graduating college. And when I lost my job, I didn't also realize, but I also lost my clearance. Now, for folks who don't recognize what a clearance is, that's like a magic ticket. It's like a golden ticket within the U.S. And what it allows is, it's essentially, if you think of job security, that's what a golden ticket essentially does. It's something that not a lot of folks can get. It takes a lot of time. And when you do get it, it's like smooth sailing. It's like you have that and you have arrived. And for me, I not only lost my job, I lost my clearance. So with that, I lost my source of income and I lost the job security that went along with it. And to make things worse, or more challenging, I should say, I was unable to replace that job with another job. So you might be thinking, well, if you lost that, how? No, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, okay, if I lost a job, okay, let me get another job. I lost a clearance, okay, let me get a job without a clearance. I was overqualified. All the positions I looked for, everything that looked like it might be a fit, it was like door closed, door closed, door closed, door closed, door closed. And I'm just thinking like, man, I knew I was bad at working for other people, but man, maybe this is a sign. So like all the doors closed, and I had a real dilemma in front of me. And, how was I going to support my family? I was the breadwinner for my family. My wife works too, but most of the bills fell on me. So I'm just like, how's this going to work? So you can't take it all at once. You just have to take it a day at a time. And so just what I told you in regards to the daily routines, I had to change my routines up. Just recognizing that there's something that I didn't know that I needed to know. So my goal was to become a learning machine and learn as much as I possibly could. My mindset, my perspective had to change because I had to recognize that the source of income that I had was not going to be coming back, as well as the methods of searching for it, as I traditionally did in the past, wasn't going to work either. My beliefs changed. I had a lot of blockage of what I thought money actually was, what I thought freedom actually was, what a lot of those things that we sort of come to know that are ingrained in us, just sometimes they aren't true, or sometimes they don't work in the world that we envision ourselves to be in. And then the biggest thing is I had to adapt. So I'm going to complain about the circumstances changing. I just had to adapt and move with them. So why do I even bring up that point? Well, most folks, if they were threatened by that challenge, might last maybe a month or 2 months. If you ever hear the term paycheck to paycheck, it's really, if the paycheck dries up, so does everything else along with it. And folks usually may not be able to survive even a month, right? And so just to even explain the impact, we've been within the lockdown, and we're slowly hitting the reopening period and process for that. It's been about 3 months, and a lot of folks are hurting over those 3 months. But somehow, and I call this a miracle, this is my miracle, is that I did something small every day when I was actually laid off, and I was actually able to achieve a miracle. And that miracle was I was able to support my family and their existing standard of living. So that meant that my kids were still getting the same things that they were getting before. My wife was getting the same thing that she was getting before. We were living the same way that we were living before. And I've been able to do that for 4 years. Not 4 months, 4 years. So you might be scratching your head and think, like, how are you able to survive as a breadwinner of your family with no change in the standard of living in your family for 4 years? 4 years? It's like, that's not even right. That's impossible. There's no way you can do that. If you would have told me the same thing when I started out, I would have said the same thing. I've never heard it. I've never seen it. How is that even possible? But I'm living proof of someone who has survived for 4 years based on taking what they've learned, putting it into practice, and supporting my family without a job. Right? Does that sound impossible to you? Well, you're hearing it from me. So if there's anything in your mind as far as what's impossible and something that you haven't done, the moment you find someone that has done it, all of a sudden your perspective changes. Where you're thinking to yourself, well, shoot, if Etzel did it, what's stopping me from doing whatever it is that's in front of me, and what's slowing me down? So wanted to leave you with that. Miracles, right? So miracles are something that they seem impossible. They sound impossible. But if you do one small thing every day and you continue doing that, man, the results can be amazing. Amazing. Right? So I appreciate you tuning in today, listening to Turning Point. Again, it's a big topic. I had a lot to cover. Hopefully I gave you some insight on how I'm tackling challenges, how I actually see opportunity. Hopefully you're seeing opportunity with whatever is going on in your life. And again, appreciate you tuning in and hope to catch you on the next episode. All right. Now, to those small things that's going to make a big difference in your life, let's start today. Don't wait till tomorrow.